combatants. So right now, you're being aggressive, right? So you're violating my Third Amendment right because I'm quartering with an enemy combatant.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, what's going on? I don't know what happened. The first time I tried to go live, there's no notifications went out. I was sitting there talking to myself for like 5 minutes. It was horrible. But no, yeah, I don't know why they didn't go out, but did they go out this time, I hope? You guys get a notification? All right, good. All right, so yeah, today we're going to be talking all things Scientology and the disappearance. Well, a lot of people think the disappearance, but the church believes it's not a disappearance. She's just living her best life, of Shelley Miscavige, and anything else you guys want to talk about in regards to Scientology. Okay, good. So that's what we're going to be talking about here today. I'm going to go ahead and put this out there for anyone that wants to come on and talk about Scientology. What's up, Greg? I thought I wasn't sure if I was going to go live. What's up, Kimber? Yeah, I wasn't sure, but figured why not? Plus, man, doing all this research on Scientology, man, they are some crazy mofos. That's just putting it lightly. Then all the new stuff that's coming out with Danny Masterson and the claims that the church was covering up the alleged rapes that were reported on him. That's some crazy stuff, right? But it doesn't surprise me if they would cover that stuff up. I mean, look at them. Look at the fact that it's a lot of people believe they're trying to cover up the disappearance of the wife. What's up, Chief?
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Not bad. So we're going to be talking about Scientology today. I hope you know at least a little bit about them.
Oh man, I don't really have a lot of experience with the Scientologists, but I've seen like Tom Cruise and John Travolta and the kind of propaganda that they put out there. I don't know. I think they're kind of crazy.
They are absolutely crazy. Well, I mean, again, what do you expect? They started from a sci-fi writer's book. That's how the religion came about. So yeah, they're out there, and Tom Cruise is a part of them. So I mean, that says a lot right there.
Yeah, wasn't the original book called Dianetics? I mean, that was the original book, right?
Yeah, that's their like Bible. They make a lot of money too, because you have to like pay to advance in the religion, which is really weird. I get tithing, regular churches, but man, to actually just move forward in your religion, you got to pay all this money. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a cult church, so cult churches have to operate on money. So they kind of suck all their members into donating all kinds of ass loads of money. And I guess if I'm not mistaken, if you donate so much money to the Scientology church, you get to worship in some kind of special place. I don't know if it's in their building or if it's somewhere else, but it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. And one of the things when I was doing some research, I found out that a lot of times the church members believe that sickness is a sign that you're a troublemaker. So how do you think they're dealing with this coronavirus bullshit, right? People are just getting sick, and now they're thinking all the people that get sick are troublemakers. So I was reading an article there saying that even if a lot of their members do come down with COVID-19, they're going to hide their symptoms. They're going to hide the fact that they're sick, so that way they're not deemed a troublemaker. Because once you're deemed a troublemaker in Scientology, you're fucked.
Yeah, it seems like they don't subscribe to the whole medical industry. They have their own deal. But I mean, with the whole COVID thing, I don't know how they're dealing with that. It's like I don't really follow the Church of Scientology, but it seems like those guys are just they're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. They're crazy. They definitely are. I think, Greg, I think it's considered a church because I guess they applied for all this stuff. You know, there's a church for Jedis too. So I mean, you know, there's all kinds of churches out there. You can actually be Jedi. You can actually be a Jedi's actual recognized religion. You could actually be a Jedi. Now I don't know about a Sith. I wouldn't. If there's a Jedi, I'm sure someone decided to make a Sith church. You know, makes sense, right?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know about you, but I think I'd probably want to be the Sith church.
I would too. I'd want to be in the Sith church too. Sith are way better than Jedi anyway.
Oh,
So,
that's hilarious, man.
yeah. So does anyone else want to come on up? We're going to be discussing some Church of Scientology stuff, the disappearance of Cheryl. Just if you guys have any interesting stuff. I thought what's Stuck said he had some stuff, but he's not up here yet, so I don't know what's going on with that. Brad, you want to come on up? Greg, May, if you ever get your stuff working, you can come on up. Right? A Sith church? That would be awesome, man. I'd love to join a Sith church. All right, so what do you know about the church, Chief? Just general, like your general understanding of them.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand their doctrine, but it seems to me that they're like seclusionists. You know, they try to segregate their followers from the regular people in the, you know, I don't know if I'm right, but it seems like they try to segregate their members away from modern day information or modern day news. They want to indoctrinate them in that, you know, L. Ron Hubbard kind of doctrine that he wrote, and I really never understood that because L. Ron Hubbard was never like a big, you know, like at the top of the list writer. He was always kind of a, you know, kind of a peripheral, you know, writer, and I can't imagine how all these people follow his doctrine. He only wrote like what, 2 books?
Yeah, Dianetics is like the most popular just because of the religion, basically, you know.
Yeah, and I never read Dianetics, so I'm a novice when it comes to that. I'm not into the Scientology crap, but it's like, it seems like the rhetoric that they put forward, it's like, it's ridiculous. It's like, how can you as a human being subscribe to this propaganda and then try to make it, you know, like in lives, like Tom Cruise to begin with. He is like, I think he's like what, the second in charge of the Scientology church, and you know, he's like so full of rhetoric and so full of propaganda. It's like ridiculous.
Well, it's not just him. Like him, John Travolta is also a member. Danny Masterson from the '70s show. Laura Prepon, also from that '70s show. There's quite a bit of celebrities, and I think that's what they cater to because obviously not just the everyday person is going to be able to be a really good member of the church, because in order to be a really good member of the church, you got to shell out money to them.
Yeah, and Kirstie Alley's a big
Kirstie Alley too.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems like their propaganda is just like anti-government, anti-establishment. I'm not quite sure if they have a political view or if it's just a religious view. I'm not quite sure where the line ends. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I agree. And just the way that they treat anyone that has anything negative to say about the Church of Scientology. When you see these videos of church members coming to people's houses and just watching them and, performing audits, so to speak, on them. It's just, it's pretty ridiculous. And then how the women have to have kids. Did you hear about what happened to Katie Holmes? I mean, she couldn't use uh, any meds or anything like that. It was like a home birth. It was supposed to be natural. That's the way she had her daughter.
Yeah, I heard that, and I thought that was like, okay. He said you can't have this, you can't have that, you have to have a natural birth. It's like that just seems just so out of. I mean, if your wife is giving birth, wouldn't you want her to have the easiest path to having, getting birth? No, you can't have pain medicine. You can't have this. You can't have that. You're gonna have to pup this. Have to push this puppy out on your own. I don't know what
Right.
the hell he was thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the whole Scientology thing is pretty freaking ridiculous out there. All right, here we go. So May says, from the day you join, it's all about taking mandatory courses and tests. You pay big money for it. You have to stay silent during birth. Yeah, it's just pretty ridiculous out there. And there are auditors that go out there and they'll like audit the Church of Scientology because the church is known to suppress people's freedom of speech, just their rights in general. They're horrible about that. And so,
well, not only that, but there's been reports that they are horribly abusive to their children.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they cover up all kinds of stuff. Like I was talking about earlier. Recently, there's been Danny Masterson, who is a member of the church. He was on that '70s show, and he's on the show called The Ranch. A few women have came forward and said that he raped them, and apparently these were charges that were brought up earlier that supposedly the church covered up back then, but now they haven't tried to cover it up yet. But I just think about that. If they're willing to cover up the disappearance of the president's wife, like people think they are, why wouldn't they be above to hide some other allegations against a high profile church member?
Well, I think it's because of status. The higher you are in the Church of Scientology, you have a certain status. And the more status you have in the Church of Scientology, the more they're going to protect you, because the more you know that if anybody were to interrogate these high level people, it would come up with all kinds of probably crimes and child abuse and child neglect, and it's actually pretty astounding that they've gotten away with this for so long.
Well, yeah, and Cheryl says, from what I read, a lady was forced to cut herself off from her family, and when they found out she was still talking to her mom, she was thrown out of the church, and they hid her children from her. Oh yeah, I've heard that story of that kind of stories too. Just a lot of people who actually leave the church speak out against the church. Now, from everything that I've heard, or what just about stuff like that, like when one person comes out and says they did something wrong, maybe you say, okay, oh, maybe there might be something there. But when 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 100, 200, when that number of people start saying something, you kind of got to start giving credence to what these people were saying, because there's got to be something to it if all these people were having similar experiences with the church. It's not like isolated incidents.
Well, I was a police officer for a long time, and if I were working that investigation, and the complaint would normally be the youth of the Scientology church are not being allowed to go to school, public school or private school. They're kind of off the grid. They don't like to expose their, I guess, constituents and their children. They want to control information. They want to control behavior. And that's just basic. That's like a communist colony. I mean, I know we haven't had like uh, communist colonies in the United States since probably the late 70s, I would guess. But the Church of Scientology, they deny children in their midst an education. They indoctrinate their minds with the Church of Scientology propaganda, but they don't expose them to actual like public school information or even private school information. Like if you're going to go to a public school or you're going to go to private school, they're going to educate you. But the Church of Scientology, they don't want their children educated because then they might make up their own minds that the church isn't worth staying.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, they're all about suppressing anything. Anybody that questions church is excommunicated, and anyone that's a church member that's part of their family, yeah, they cannot be told they can see them. For example, I think Shelley Miscavi's in-law actually father-in-law got out of the church, and he's spoken out and talked about how Shelley's missing, and he doesn't believe that she's ever going to get free. Now, my question would be, how far are they going to go with this? Because I mean, she's not going to live forever. She's going to die eventually. So if she is alive somewhere and they're holding her somewhere, when she does die, are they going to try and just not let anyone know that she died and just keep it at that, or do you think then they'll finally come out and say, "Look, see, she was alive the whole time, but now she's dead"? What I'm curious, what do you think they're going to do in that kind of case?
Well, I mean, everybody loves a martyr. You know, in any kind of cult group, there's always a martyr, and I think that's probably what they're going for. They're trying to create that, that status of being a martyr, and I think that kind of, I don't know how that kind of bolsters their argument, because then they have a symbol to rally around. So I think it's they're just trying to create a martyr stand, martyr stance.
So yeah, the wife of the of the current president is currently missing. She's been missing since 2007. The last time she was publicly seen was at her father's funeral, and that was the last time anyone saw her. Now people have come forward. Her personal assistant came forward and said that the last time she ever saw her, she was shuffled off by some like black suited guys and taken to one of their strongholds. A lot of people think she's at being held at the gold base. Now, all church members and the husband also say, no, she's alive. She just wants to be left alone. Now, how easy would it be for someone to do that with technology the way it is? They can make a video. She could just say, hey, everyone, I'm safe. I'm okay. Mystery solved. She could write a letter. There's so many different ways that she could do it and still let everyone know that she is okay. And not only that, but it would get all this negative, bad press away from the church. The fact that they're not willing to even do that makes me suspect foul play. So yeah, what do you guys think? I was wondering if Scientology was a version of the satanic cult run. It might be. I'm not sure about a satanic. I didn't know he's joined it. He had a satanic cult. What was the satanic cult? Or you guys talk about Scientology? Is that what this is? It's a satanic cult. Satanic cult. Well, I know it's a cult for sure. I don't know about satanic. It's out there. It's odd. I'll give you that. Yes, Shelly Miscave, man. Yep, that's what we're talking about. I think don't drink the Kool-Aid if they offer you any. Absolutely. You definitely don't want to drink any Kool-Aid that any church member, even if it's Tom Cruise, don't give it from Tom Cruise, uh, Kirstie Alley, or John Travolta, or any of those big people.
Well, you know what? You can't listen to people who have been tainted by anti-propaganda. That's the truth. I mean, the Scientology Church is based on a theory of existential, like, universalism. They think that there's all kinds of extraterrestrial beings that influence our our way of life, and I never really understood that, because I read some of L. Ron Hubbard's book, and I'll tell you what, that was the biggest piece of shit I ever read in my life. I couldn't even finish it.
I've never read it. I don't really want to read it. It doesn't sound like anything. I mean, don't they like believe that like they're aliens or something? And you got like these. I'm not even sure. Like I know it's really weird, and they're like from a different planet or something. And the more they advance in the church, the more powers they get, or something like that. So Tom Cruise is such high level, so then he's got all these crazy powers. Then essentially, right?
Well, I think their theory is that the alien influence, whatever they think, came down and integrated their DNA with our DNA, and that's why we're supposed to be so sentient and complex thinking beings. That was L. Ron Hubbard's premise. That our existence, our evolution was a part of alien influence. That was his main premise, and I don't know, man. I think it's a bunch of crap.
It absolutely is a bunch of crap. I don't have to agree with you on that one. So yeah, so Shelly Miscave has been missing for a while now, and Leah Remini actually filed a missing persons report with the LAPD. Now, the LAPD conducted an investigation, and they found that she wasn't missing. The reports were unfounded, and apparently, whoever was in charge talked to her, but nothing was divulged by what she said, what condition she was in. They just said Miss Remini's complaints are there's nothing going on, right? And years later, come to find out, a lot of people inside the LAPD said that whole investigation was handled very poorly, and it should be, they should look into it more. So, and that's the thing. The church supposedly has a lot of police officers in their employ, a lot of high-ranking officials. They're able to buy themselves out of a lot of trouble, and it seems like they're kind of buying their way out of any suspicions of foul play in regards to the missing founder's missing wife, also, and these allegations of assault and sexual crimes within the church as well.
Yeah, I would imagine that's probably true. I mean, the Department of Justice has tried to file many search warrants for the Church of Scientology, and it's actually almost like, if you think about it, it's almost like in Utah, where those Latter-day Saints churches are. They make big, great complexes that are just like fortresses, and they are ready to defend themselves in those fortresses. And it never really made sense to me, because it's like, this is the United States. This is the best country on the face of the planet. And why would you want to create a defensive position to fight your own people. I never could understand that. But a lot of those religious sects in Utah, they're Latter-day Saints, they're polygamists, and they're kind of separatists in a way, because they don't want to adhere to the United States codes or laws, and it's a big problem, because you know what, it's like we saw what happened in Waco. When Waco happened, the United States government was like, oh, what the hell are we going to do with this? These guys aren't coming out. They got all kinds of weapons. And then they sent the ATF SWAT team in, and most of them got killed.
Yeah.
And, when that happens, there's a precipice where the government says, okay, are we going to try to move in more troops, or are we going to burn them out? Well, the decision was burn them out. And, we all know how that happened. They burned them out, and a lot of them died. Some of them escaped. And then, the people who escaped, the government was like, oh, we're sorry we did this to you. But,
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense, because it's like a double standard. It's a double standard. If you're going to be anti-government and you want to stand against the United States, that's fine. That's your right. You have every right to do that. But when you implement weapons and you implement like IEDs and devices that are, made to stop police officers or advanced unit officers, it takes it to a whole new level. It really does. I mean, I don't think that the people in Waco should have been burned out. I think they should have waited them out. They could have waited. That's the thing about law enforcement. We got nothing but time. Just fucking pull back and, see what happens. They're not going anywhere. We have surveillance all the way at 360 degrees over their, area. So I think that might have been a big mistake. But you have to think that when you're a police officer or a federal, it wasn't just the police, it was the federal units that actually took Waco, and the ATF guys got chewed to pieces. But after that happened, the FBI showed up and they're like, well, let's burn them out. And that's what happened. They burned them out. And, you have to kind of understand that when people like that stand against the government, even though it might be right, it might be wrong, but like Janet Reno was the Attorney General at the time, and she gave the order to march in. So they didn't really have a choice. They had to obey orders, and it turned out to be an absolute clusterfuck.
Yeah, the whole Waco thing, Jonestown was horrible too. There's just a lot of stuff that happened. What's up, Carlos?
Not much.
So
hey,
what
Carl, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, Chief.
So what do you know about the Church of Scientology, Carl?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, that's what we're talking about here, buddy.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Right. What's up, Scott?
Not much. I was eating dinner. I've done a lot of. Pardon, Chief?
Huh?
Hey, Stuck, what's going on, buddy?
Not much. Have you?
So what do you got? You said you found a bunch of stuff on Scientology. What kind of stuff did you find, Scott?
Not really. Hold on. Let me just see what's going on here. Is that mine? Yeah, that's mine. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Now we're settled. I had the extra fucking tab open. It drives me nuts. Everything you said, I'm totally on board with and agree that there's the whole thing of, but like you get into this church, it's all about control, is what it comes down to. And I think that this lady is truly not missing. She's probably there, but we don't know.
Well, yeah, either it's one or the other. Either she's missing, no, either she's dead or she's alive, and the church is the only one that knows. I highly doubt that they let her go, say just don't talk about the church, and trusted her not to talk about the church. I highly doubt they that much. So she's either alive somewhere, being held, or she's dead somewhere. That's my opinion.
Well, once you're in, you cannot get out easily, if at all. You're screwed.
Well, no, that's not true. People get out. People get out all the time.
Yeah, Katie,
people get out all the time.
Yeah, Katie Holmes got out when
but it takes a lot for the general population. No, once you're in, that's it. You're in.
No, not necessarily true. You can get out easily. There's hundreds, thousands of people that have got out stuck. Now you're shunned, you're thought of, and you talk bad upon, but you can get out. It's not hard to get out. Katie Holmes got out, no issue. Normal people, everyday people get out too. It's not hard to get out. It's just frowned upon.
All right, because I got a different, reference to a whole bunch of stuff where it's basically it's about control, and so that's all I know. But beyond that, it's a stupid organization.
Well, that's the thing about Scientology. They control information, and they control their followers with controlled information. They only expose them to the stuff they want them to see.
That's right. And they control you. They control any of your kids if you have kids. I mean, yeah. Hey, Gregory. Hey, Kimber.
Hey, what's up, Greg? Kimber, how you guys
doing? Hey, what's going on, Greg?
Nothing much. How are you?
So Greg, are you a secret Scientologist that's infiltrating our conversation today to bring back to your higher ups?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell it to the alien people. Watch out. If you don't, I might have to make you disappear.
Uh-oh. We don't want that.
Hey,
start with Kimber.
Don't talk about the alien influence because they were in my backyard last night.
Ooh, that's where they were.
Ah.
I know, Taze. I was hoping I told Nancy Nathaniel you were going to do it this weekend. He's not here. I was really hoping he'd show up because it'd be pretty cool. I love to have him.
No, I was going to say, I got a serious question. Where the hell is the federal government? Why aren't they investigating these whack jobs?
Because supposedly they have all this power, and there's no proof. I mean, at this point, if the allegation of the fact that they're hiding sexual crimes, then the federal government more than likely will get involved if any of these pan out to be true, and they'll have an investigation. But before that, there was just people just were pissed off at them that they're, everything they're doing is they're hiding under the guise that they are a religion, right? So they can have their members do what they want to do.
Maybe I should just go in as a spy and wear
there's not really any proof.
What exactly are we talking about? Anti-law enforcement? Because ask me. I know what's going on.
No, he was asking why the federal government wasn't involved in what Church of Scientology is doing.
Because
I'm not talking about regular police officers. I'm talking about the federal government.
Yeah, but they're a religious organization classified as. So there's, isn't there restrictions on what the officers in the federal government can do if you're a religious?
Yeah, there is certain standards that if you're a religious organization, you have some certain protection under the law, and that means that they can't breach your church without a warrant. They can't question your followers without a warrant. So that's definitely the way it is, because you have to go through the proper procedures to get a warrant, you have to articulate to the court, this is what we suspect, this is what we think, we need a warrant, and the court will either say, oh no, you're full of shit, or okay, you got a warrant. So yeah, it's kind of like that, and it's not always guaranteed that you're going to get a warrant, but you have to make your best case and see what the court says.
Well, you see, that's
I'll print out my own warrant.
Because like by setting up the right to freedom of religion, organizations, and I'll call it organization loosely, like the Church of Scientology, they set themselves up behind that wall, right, on purpose, so that they can get away with what they want to do. But you got to prove it.
Well, there's a lot of steps you have to go through to build a criminal case. I mean, there's like endless amount of hours that you have to fill out paperwork to make a case like this. And the Church of Scientology, that's a complex kind of system, and you really have to have a lot of prosecutors and attorneys that they have to go through everything by detail. Everything in court cases are detailed. Detail. You have to cross your T's and dot your I's, and if you don't, you could lose the case. I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah, but I mean, so basically tomorrow, if I wanted to set up a religious cult and do it properly, I could do that, and then I can get away with quite a lot for many years before the law could even try to get involved.
Well, you would have to do something completely illegal, like what they did in Jonestown or and Waco. You'd have to really go out of the way for the government to say, okay, enough is enough.
Yeah.
Waco's one with the tank,
yeah, but
right?
when the government, he was in South America, so when the government said that's enough, they sent in the Marines.
Yep. No, but yeah, religions get a lot of leeway, and there's nothing against the law about joining it. I mean, starting a cult. You can start a cult all you want. You can go out and advertise it. It is a cult. There's nothing illegal about starting a cult. It's when your cult starts doing illegal activities that's the problem.
Does the Church of Scientology do? Because I couldn't really see much, but as far as this, like, are they actually doing any illegal activities, or are they just
they're suppressing people's First Amendment rights? They're suppressing a lot of people's rights. There's allegations they're covering up. Yeah, kidnapping. There's allegations. Yep, they're covering up rape from some of their members. Kidnapping. Some people believe murder. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that they're accused of doing.
Well, not only that, but they're accused of slave labor and exploiting these children.
That's right.
Yeah, they're accused of a lot of stuff.
So after Waco, the government learned a lesson on this stuff and try to deal with this stuff better.
Yeah, but Waco didn't have anything to do with the Church of Scientology. That's a totally different cult.
It's a different cult. It's a cult. It's a quote unquote religion, whatever you want to fucking call it. Pardon, sorry, I shouldn't swear. But the government hasn't they woken up and say, well, if this happened once already, we need to deal with this stuff better and be more aware of this stuff. And they are aware of it. So why aren't they doing anything about it?
Well, here's the thing: they're just allegations right now, and the church is denying them. They've got powerful lawyers. They've got police departments in their pocket. They are completely powerful. They at this point, they're almost untouchable.
Okay, I don't know if they have. Okay, Kenny, do you really think they have their police departments in the pocket?
In LA, yeah, because the LA police department conducted a missing persons search on the wife, and they didn't release any information. They just said she was okay. They didn't put anything up there, and even people in the police department are saying that investigation was handled very poorly. It needs to be redone.
Well, that makes me really upset because I tested for LAPD and I passed the test, But I moved to Ohio and became a deputy sheriff here. But I always have a little bit of passion for LAPD because those guys I always looked up to. So I don't think LAPD is the problem. I think, there might be an underlying problem that's, the problem.
Well, what could the underlying problem be? It's the church is so powerful that that's the problem. The church itself is a problem. It's not the LAPD in general. But they have their own security force. I mean, they've got all kinds of. I mean, they are extremely powerful.
They're huge. Yeah, they're huge. They're powerful. I mean, money speaks volumes.
Exactly. I mean, look at what happened. If you don't believe money can make your problems go away,
Yeah,
look at what it did for what's his face? Damn, what's his name?
Okay. Hold on. Let me just interject here. They may have a lot of money. They may have a lot of weapons. But you have to look at the strategy of combat. They are in a facility, and that facility cannot move. It's not fluid. You can surround that facility with superior firepower and take down anybody inside that facility. And all you have to do is outlast them. You can last 16 days, 30 days, 24 days, 46 days. They're gonna run out of food. They're gonna run out of water, and then they're gonna be in a situation where, well, we're either gonna surrender or we're gonna go out. You're gonna go at it with the troops, and that's the thing. When you're in a combat situation, you always evaluate your enemy's weakness, and their weakness is they're in a central place in a building, and we can surround that building very, very quickly. And we can surround that building with very, very much superior firepower. And then what?
Well, yeah, in a combat situation, it would work that way. But in order to get that combat situation, you would have to prove some sort of wrongdoing, and that's the problem. They cannot prove any wrongdoing.
Well, they don't really need to prove a wrongdoing. They have to establish a suspicion that they're in possession of illegal weapons.
But they don't have any. They don't have any. I don't believe they have weapons.
No, I don't
But you
think
you don't know that.
I don't know that for sure,
I don't
but
think so
I'm
either.
pretty sure they don't have weapons. They're all about like peace and shit like that.
And love and your inner spirit and
Yeah, they don't have. They're not like a cult like back in the day, like Jones Hermano. They're nothing like that. They're completely different. They're a blue collar, no white collar cult. They are definitely a white collar cult.
But how do you know that? Are you sure?
Absolutely sure. Look at how their business model is.
Yeah, I know. I understand their business.
You got to pay
model,
ridiculous
but
amounts of money.
Do you actually know how many weapons they have in their arsenal?
They don't need to have weapons because they have police departments and security forces in their pocket.
Yeah.
I don't think. Yeah, listen. Municipal police departments are not going to condone the actions of the Church of Scientology. I don't think that would be. I mean, I'm not
saying they're condoning them. I'm not saying they're condoning them, but they're looking the other way.
But they might have their own private security force. That's what you're, probably more.
No, they have both. They have both. I'm telling you right now, the LAPD.
They probably have cops in their pockets.
Yeah, they've got people in their pocket, dude. Like, I mean, I get being a cop. You don't want to believe that.
One of the most corrupt police departments in the United States.
Yeah, I get.
I'm sorry. I will defend cops to the very end. And I know maybe this is possible. Some cops are corrupt and
it's not possible. It's fact. Some cops are corrupt. And unfortunately, it's just the way it is. Just like there are some civilians that are corrupt. There's corruption every field. You can't get away from it. We're not picking on cops here, but we're just talking about how they do have cops in their pocket. It's fact. They do.
I tell you what, I wish
the cops aren't angels.
I do not want to believe in that. I know, it's probably, it may be true, it may be possible, but I don't know, man. I mean, when I came out of the police academy, we were trained to uphold the law. We weren't trained to fucking like take bribes or take, you know, any kind of influence that we would have to support some kind of establishment. I can't even wrap my mind around this. It's like, is this actually happening?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I get that you can't wrap your mind around it, and you don't want to. You want to think the best of all your police brethren. I get that, but I mean, that's like a pie in the sky type of attitude. You know, you got to look at the reality of things. That they're bad in every field. You know, have you? I mean, when you were a chief, did you ever have to fire a police officer?
Yes, I did. I had to fire a police officer for soliciting a bribe, and that was corruption.
And then you should know that not all police officers are good. Just off of that right there.
Oh, I know that. Not all police officers are good. And I've been in law enforcement for a long time. But I'll tell you what, there are assholes that I've met over my career that fucking just wanted to get into the business to fuck with people.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? It really pissed me off, because when these assholes go out there and fucking do that, they make it look bad for all of us. Yeah, and when I retired, I was in administration for 8 years. I had to do internal affairs investigations. I had to do all kinds of misconduct investigations. When I was chief of police, you know, you're fucking responsible for everything that happens in the police department. And if you have an asshole officer that makes you look stupid, you just get goddamn pissed off as hell, because you know what? They were trained better than that. And it looks bad on me.
Yep, it does.
I agree. But money speaks language, though. You could have all the training in the world.
That's not everybody, Gregory. I mean, people have morals. I mean, but there are just some people that are just bad. You know what I mean? Or so desperate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I'm not going to say that you can approach any cop and say, here's, you know, X amount of dollars, turn the other way, because that's not the reality.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No,
right.
Chief, I hear you on. You have to believe that, you know, what you believe on the cops thing, but there are people that money does speak volume. You offer money to anybody, 99.9% of the people will say no, and they'll stand on their ground. But there's going to be that 0.1%. And it doesn't matter if they come from whatever career that they're doing, they're going to take that money and do an immoral thing.
Now, I think that's hopeful thinking that 99.9% are going to do the right thing. I think that's hopeful thinking.
I'm making my point. Point is, most people are going to say no. They're going to stand on the moral high ground. But there are going to be some people. It doesn't matter what their background is, where they're from. It doesn't matter how much money they currently have. If they'll take a bribe easily and keep their mouth shut.
Oh my God! If I ever saw a fucking officer take a bribe, I would have beaten the living shit out of him. And I'll tell you what, that's a fucking honor thing. That's a fucking honor thing. If you fucking do that, you're not a police officer. You're a goddamn scumbag. And I'll tell you what, I had to fire a fucking officer who did that, and it's not even funny, because I have integrity. I did this job for a long time, and I never fucking, took advantage of anybody's civil rights. And all these goddamn officers that fucking do that, they make us look stupid.
They do. Chief, I'm not saying it's just a cop. I'm not saying cops. I'm talking about any career path that you're sitting on. People, there are immoral people out there, you know, and that's what we're, seeing. I mean, mostly, I'll bet you half the government is being bribed all around the world, because of Scientology, or by them, to keep their mouth shut.
All I know is if a cop takes a bribe, or if he's corrupt, he's a fucking asshole. And I'll tell you what, I don't have any patience for a fucking corrupt cop. And you know what? A lot of people in this country might be anti-cop right now, because that seems to be the in thing to do. But I've never supported a cop that was corrupt.
I've always been anti-cop. I've always been anti-cop.
Who the hell's been anti-cop?
Gregory.
Me.
Why?
Because they like to
Because what?
fuck with corruption and everything.
No.
No, I've seen corruption. I've seen police misconduct before.
How many times
From
have
where
you
I'm
seen
at and where I used to be.
corruption before?
I've
How
seen
many
cops
times
kicking
have you
people's
seen
heads
corruption?
in.
How many
Plenty
times?
of times. Plenty of times.
How many times?
Plenty
No,
of times.
no.
There was a
Cite
time.
me,
There was a
cite me
time
some instances.
in this town. Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? Let me finish.
Unfinished.
I've read in the paper about a bunch of misconduct,
Oh, you read in the paper.
and there was even a cop
Chief,
in our
let
town
him
that
finish,
got
Chief.
he got charged with sexual assault, and he was fired. And the part
Gregory, your phone is
they like to
cutting
fuck with
out.
minorities
You're
and
cutting out.
everything.
Yeah, you're cutting out, Greg.
Oh, how about now?
That's better.
Better.
Okay. No, I have my reasons though. So
What are the reasons?
I just said them.
We couldn't hear you.
You didn't
Yeah, we
say
couldn't
anything.
hear you.
Oh,
Chief, calm down. Calm down, Chief. We couldn't
Chief,
hear him. His
shut
phone was
up.
messing up. Just calm down, guys. Just we're getting away from the whole point of this talk. So let's finish up this train of thought, and then we'll move on. So hold on, Greg. You're gonna have to say whatever you said again because you were cutting in and out, bro. Sorry about that.
No, I've seen a lot of dirty cops before in my time. I've seen racist cops. I've seen cops, throw somebody to the floor where their head hit the pavement and hopped off, like bounced off, and their whole face was bleeding and everything, and the cops didn't care. Like, it's disgusting.
Now, Greg,
I've never called the cops before.
Greg, would you say that you're more anti-bad cop, or are you purely anti-cop? Like you think every cop is gonna hurt you or hurt somebody that's there near? That we want to get a clarification.
Yeah, when I come in contact with a cop, I fear for my life.
Every cop, no matter what,
Oh.
before they even make any contact with you, okay, because of what you've seen in the past, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, that's your prerogative. But what about when the cop that you come into contact with doesn't violate your rights? Do you at least say, okay, maybe not all cops are bad. I can see how some cops are good, but maybe you just have your guard up at first, or what?
What? I just heard
Like,
a really loud groan.
When the cops approach you and they don't do anything wrong, right? Do you still think that they're bad, or can you at least acknowledge, okay, that's a cop?
Sometimes, yeah, but it's like there's an armed person approaching me, and it's just like you don't know what's going in their head or anything. And they've been known to kill people. So.
Okay.
Understood, but
You gotta be kidding me.
Well, no, I mean, think about it, Chief. I mean, if it weren't for the uniform, an armed person to you, you're gonna be a little antsy. I'm gonna be antsy if someone armed comes to me, like, well, what the fuck are they trying to do?
right.
And if all you know is cops that are doing the wrong thing, you don't know a whole lot of good cops. I mean, why would you trust a cop at that point? You know what I'm saying? If you haven't seen good cops, like you're a good cop, and there are a lot of good cops out there. But
he's a great cop.
But Greg is saying he hasn't really seen any good cops. All the cops have been dirty, and unfortunately, that's how he's dealt with things. And I can understand a lot of people have had that sort of interaction with him. every cop they meet just fucks with them every time. You can't expect someone to trust cops if all they deal with is, bullshit. And I think it's going to take more good cops to come and change his mind on that. But since Greg is here and he does watch our channel and different kind of channels like that, and he gets pissed off when people fuck with the cops, it doesn't mean he hates the cops. It's just he is fearful of them for what he has dealt with.
He goes into reaction mode, not because of whatever experiences he may have had in the past. He's just reacting based on what he knows. Right?
Can I say something real quick?
You don't know what I know and what I've seen from cops.
No,
and I'm sorry, Stack.
No, go ahead, Kim. Go ahead.
It's kind of sad because in the news, all you see is the bad stuff anymore that they do. What about the good stuff?
Right.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good stuff that police officers do that isn't on the mainstream media news these days.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about mainstream media. I'm talking about what I've seen.
I don't
need
care
cameras.
what you've seen. I'll tell you what. The police officers are trying to do an impossible job at an impossible time with all kinds of rioters and protesters. How the hell are you supposed to keep that in order? How the hell are you supposed to keep that in order?
This is before all the protests and everything, okay?
Oh, don't give me that protest shit. You know what? The police officers are not wanting to be there because they want to be there. They are there because they're ordered to be there.
Chief, he's saying that he's talking about stuff before the protest.
Yeah, to be douchebags? To be douchebags?
Okay, Greg, let me...
No, being the only one... Okay.
Greg, can you just take a step back, both you and Chief? Chief, I would, your story the other day, where you dropped what you were doing, you left, Chuck's stream, which you hated doing, to go help your fellow brother, is the kind of stuff, that you like to hear about every day. I want to hear more good stories about cops. But, Greg, listen, you've got, when you approach, or an officer approaches you, you can't make a judgment based on your past about that particular officer, because that officer might be helping you. Whether or not he's armed or not, he has to be armed for himself and everybody else's protection. Now, I'm going to say that I'm sorry that you've had bad experiences in the past, but you've got to give cops the benefit of the doubt, because let's just say that you run into a situation where you do have to call 911 and the cops show up. Are you still going to call them, or are you going to not call the cops?
I don't call 911.
No.
I don't call the cops for nothing.
I
don't trust them.
No, but you may. You may end up calling them one day.
You'll need them someday.
You may. We all do.
I don't need them.
Not only that, but I'll tell you what. The reason I had to leave that live stream is because the deputy sheriff was calling for a 44. And a 44 means I need help. And this guy was like a half a mile away from my house. So I had to get my gear on. I had to get my body armor on. I had to take my weapons. And I had to fucking go. And I'll tell you what. A lot of you guys don't understand the fact that, when an officer is in trouble, you have the responsibility to go and take care of that officer. And when I got there, luckily, I got there in time because this motherfucker had multiple warrants for his arrest. He had multiple, weapons in his cars, and he was threatening a deputy sheriff. So that's why I had to leave the live stream. And I fucking hated that because I was having a good time on the live stream.
I know you were. No, my point is, Greg, you just take a step back and stop judging all officers based on your previous experience. Those officers that you ran into, fine. If you had a bad experience, you had a bad experience. Look forward. Look at the officer. Go, like if you truly watch a lot of police officers, and I've seen a lot of video clips and a lot of stuff where they truly help people. And they are very respectful of even the people they're fucking arresting, for God's sake. I I mean, yeah. I'm sorry. I'll shut up. I'm getting flustered here.
Well, no, I mean, there's nothing
Well,
to
I
get
don't mean to
flustered
piss
about.
anybody
I
off, but
support
I'm just
what you're saying.
whatever.
No,
Look,
great.
it's you got to understand from it depends on like when you think about certain neighborhoods. Let's take the projects Crenshaw in LA in LA. When you deal with the LAPD, one of the most corrupt freaking police organizations in America. Okay, one of them definitely. People there are not going to trust the cops, no matter if. And there's good cops that go out there, and not all cops violate everyone's rights. I think we all could agree upon that because this is not possible. But when all you deal with is negativity, how hard would it be for you to not just assume that person's going to do it to you again? Now, just assuming it doesn't make you wrong for thinking. It's going off of your past. Stop. Let me finish.
Yeah,
Let me finish.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
So it doesn't make you wrong for just thinking that. Now, if after the cop comes up and to Greg and the guy cop's like, dude, are you okay? Is everything okay? And the guy's really cool to Greg. And then Greg says, oh, fuck that cop. So, okay, then there's an issue. But just from what he's seen, what he's known, if a cop comes up to him and is really cool, I'm sure Greg, if a cop comes to you and is really cool, you'd be like, hey, that's a good guy, right? You wouldn't just say, nah, fuck that cop, right?
No, the only time I'll say fuck that cop if he comes up to me disrespecting me and all that.
See,
because I don't care if you have a badge or a gun.
Hold on.
No, let me tell you something. If you come up to me as a human being and start
Chief,
me,
let him finish. Let him finish, and then you can go, Chief. Let Greg
literally,
finish.
you've never lived in the projects and had to look through it from another person's eyes. You had that badge and gun. I ain't had that badge and gun.
I didn't have that badge and gun in Los Angeles because I grew up in Los Angeles. I was born in 1968 in Los Angeles, California. I grew up in that damn city, and I know LAPD better than anybody of you. I'm going to tell you something. They're not all fucking corrupt. LAPD is one of the goddamn best police departments in the nation. Yeah,
oh my God.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something.
Chief,
everybody
you really
knows
need
they're the most corrupt police department in the United States.
Blah 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 blah.
Okay,
Chief, you really,
oh my
Chief,
God.
you really do need to look up. You really need to look up the LAPD, man. I know you work for them, and you have
grew up in LA. I know LAPD. One of my
okay, then you should know how corrupt they are.
They're not corrupt.
Yes,
they're
they
not
are.
as corrupt as they were, but they definitely were corrupt at one point.
You want to look at corrupt police departments? Look at Chicago. Look at New York City. Look at Philadelphia.
They're corrupt
Absolutely.
too.
They're corrupt too. But LAPD is just as corrupt as they are, if not more.
Okay,
I'm sorry, dude. I support the police.
I have kind of a.
I'd rather be a drug dealer than be a cop down there.
I support the police.
This is bullshit, man.
I support the police.
He's fucking talking about shit he doesn't even know about.
Chief, you're getting way too triggered right now. Calm down.
What are you talking about?
No one is saying we hate the police here. It's just that we acknowledge that there are fucking corrupt police officers out there. And you're finding it hard to.
There's corrupt police officers everywhere in the nation, but it doesn't make the whole agency bad.
In the case of Chicago PD, the LAPD, it does.
Oh, you want to fucking pull that boomer shit on me? Okay. Yeah, okay, you young punk ass bitch.
Okay, guys, let's calm down here. Let's calm down. Calm down here.
Old
look,
dick, shut the fuck up.
Hey, listen, calm down, guys. Calm down. Let's relax for a little bit here. Tension's got a little hot.
I'm gonna mute myself.
All right, it's just look again. Like Greg was saying, he acknowledges good cops, but where he grew up in the projects. He was saying a lot of cops are bad there, and in LA. Okay, I mean, Chief, I get what you're saying. You work for them. You have a special connection bond with them. I get it, but the facts, they're fucking corrupt. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not up for debate. They're fucking corrupt. just like Chicago. It's not up for debate. They're fucking corrupt.
Together. That's for another discussion later. But I mean, I get flustered because, you know, I understand there are bad cops. There are a few bad police departments, and I'm not gonna say who, what, where, whatever else. But I mean, for somebody, you know, for people to lump into a category that all cops are bad just because they talk to you is not a right thing. Just
that's not what Greg is saying. You're misinterpreting what Greg is saying.
Maybe I am, but I mean, he's saying if the cop comes up and disrespects him.
He's saying all goddamn LAPD cops are bad.
Not all LAPD cops are bad, but no. as a whole, collectively, from what we've seen in the past, what we've seen, you know, the stuff. Even the police chief resigned at one point. I mean, they're not as bad as they were in the 30s or the 40s or the early 90s, late 80s. They've definitely reformed and gotten better. And when I say they're corrupt now, I don't know. Honestly, wouldn't know if they're corrupt now, but I do know they have a history of corruption.
They've got too many eyes on them.
Listen. I'm going to give you a little history lesson about LAPD. Okay, when the Watts riots happened in '68, the LAPD had to extend their forces way more than they were able to because they had a riot on their hands and everybody was burning the city down. Okay, after the '60s, into the '70s, and into the '80s, it was Chief Daryl Gates, who was the chief of LAPD. Okay, and that he was the chief of LAPD when the Rodney King thing happened, and they had the riots downtown. Okay, but I'm telling you, it's not the fucking LAPD's fault that this happened. This was a singular episode that happened on video, and this was like the first, you know, event that happened on video that people really tried to, you know, go against the police officers. And you know what? You don't know what the hell you're talking about until you fucking been a police officer and you're in LA and you're doing the job. And you know what? They say, oh, well, the police officers did wrong. That's fine. You know, if you think the police officers did wrong, that's fine. Charge them, you know, and they did. They charged them, they convicted them, and they had to leave the police department. And even Daryl Gates, the chief of police, had to leave the police department because they made him leave. And then when LAPD evolved out of that, you know, chaos, it was a weaker department. And that's the truth. It was a weaker department. And I don't subscribe to any of that shit. Because you know what? When you're a police officer, if you're breaking the law, you're going to get smacked. You're going to get taken down.
Oh, see, that's police brutality right there. You're going to get smacked.
He's talking about the police on police.
Oh, okay.
Relax, Greg. Relax.
Guys.
Oh, well, geez. You know what? Everybody knows that if you grew up in Southern California and you were dealing with the LAPD, if you backtalk them, you'd get smacked. That's just the way it was. You know, I'm not saying it was right, but you know what? Back then, the LAPD under Daryl Gates, who was chief of police, he was he was the chief of police that was very tough on crime. He was very tough on crime. So that's why most of the people hated him, because he was very tough on crime.
Okay, now back to what you're talking about. You said something that didn't really sit right with me when you said it was one incident with the Rodney King incident. No. There were many incidents that were not caught on videotape that have happened as far back as the early 80s. This was not an isolated incident. It was one of the only incidents caught on tape, yes, but it is for sure not an isolated incident. And I actually am kind of surprised to hear you say that, because if you were at an LAPD, you knew the rampant racism in the LAPD back in the 80s. You cannot deny the rampant racism that was back in the LAPD in the 80s. Can you?
Well, no, I was not a part of the LAPD in the 80s. I went to the police academy in Ohio in 1993. So
Okay,
I
fair
had
enough.
moved,
Fair enough.
I had moved out of California before all of that happened. But I'll tell you what,
when were you a part of the LAPD?
I was a part of the LAPD. Okay, let me see. It was 1988 till 1993. I
In
was
the LAPD. There's racism then. That's when cop watching began, was in the late 80s, and it started because people were getting tired of being fucked with African Americans by the police. They took out the big ass VHS
they
cassette.
they never trained us to be prejudiced against anybody who protested. They okay.
No, I never. I'm not saying they trained you to be.
Hold on. In the police academy, they taught us to protect ourselves. You know, there's a lot of people who want to hurt you out there, and you have to use your self-defensive strategies. You have to use your weapon strategies. You have to use your baton strategies. There's a lot of things you have to do to try to create distance between the assailant and yourself. And a lot of people who don't know how to be a police officer, they've never gone on through the training, they don't understand. It's not just cut and dry. You know, if you get out on a certain situation and you got multiple suspects who are, opposing you, you either have two choices. You can retreat or you can go on the offense. And the always go-to answer was go to the offense. And so,
that's how I feel about police officers.
What did he say? What did he say?
I said that's how I feel about police officers. I feel like I have to go on the offense. The San Juan Metropolitan Police Department is one of the most corrupt police departments in Puerto Rico.
Boy.
Well, I wouldn't recommend going against the police officers because you're probably going to end up killed.
Okay, but all right, now, Chief, what you were saying, I get what you're saying, but that had nothing to do with my argument about racism. That's defending yourself. I'm talking about the rampant racism in the LAPD. You're talking about cops defending themselves. You see, you were defending in my statement with something that was completely not even relevant. I'm talking about the racism in the police department. I'm not talking about police defending themselves. I get that they have to defend themselves, and I'm all for police defending themselves. I'm not all for police racism.
That's where we got to defend ourselves if the racist cop's going to be racist.
Okay. Now you're talking about semantics. You know, I mean, when you get off on a incident and you start questioning people and you start trying to compile a report on what happened, you know, there's all kinds of things that can transpire that lead to a live fire exchange. You know, I mean, I don't know if you guys live in Los Angeles. I used to live in Los Angeles. And I'm
Answer
the
question.
The question is,
you're diverting from the question.
If you assault the officers in Los Angeles, they're going to retaliate.
Greg, chill. Greg, chill.
All right.
Chill. I got this. Chill.
All right.
Go ahead, Chief.
Well, I'm just saying that you have to look at it from the officer's point of view. They're arriving on a scene. They don't know what's going on. They don't know who's fighting with who. They don't know what circumstances are going on. They just got a call, say, hey, you need to show up to 1312 12th Street, and you need to help a conflict, which is a 415 in California. That's a disturbance. So, if you show up to the situation and, you're trying to figure out what's going on, it's not so easy to Monday morning quarterback that shit because you know what? You've never been an officer on the job.
That's okay, Chief. Again, that's not what I was talking about. What I'm talking about is the racism in the police department when a LAPD officer arrives on the scene, they see it's an African American male or a Latino American male, and they immediately assume guilt, start beating them down. That's what I'm talking about. You're going off on all these tangents that aren't even related to what I'm talking about.
Okay, I'll get to what you're talking about. There's a lot of LAPD officers who were African American. It has nothing to do with race. If somebody is committing a crime or committing a domestic disturbance or even conducting themselves in a way that people call the officers on them, it has nothing to do with race.
Chief, that's where you're wrong. Now, maybe not now. Okay, I'm not saying now. I'm talking. We're going back in time right now. We're talking about the late 80s, the early 90s, LAPD, the Rodney King era, the Reginald Denning era of the LAPD. The LAPD where they would physically attack minorities. More minorities were in prison for wrongful stuff. They plant drugs on them. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about back now. Maybe it's different now. I'm not even going to dispute with you about that. We're talking about back in the day, back in the early 80s. The late 80s, the early 90s. You cannot deny the racist actions of the LAPD and a lot of police departments in that era. Does it make it right? No. Am I saying you agree with it? No. I'm sure you do not agree with it. But you cannot deny that it was there and it was prevalent. It's my point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It was a serious factor back in the old days. However, we've evolved, we've trained, we've evolved from that situation. And, even though I don't work for LAPD, I still have a passion for defending the LAPD. I was the deputy sheriff and I was the chief of police in Ohio. But the thing is, I'm not saying that they didn't do that. They may have done that.
No. There's no mayhap.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there, so I can't really render an opinion about that. That was way before I went to the police academy.
Well, then how can you just automatically defend every single officer? That's like when the auditors defend auditors for not knowing that. I don't know what this auditor did, but I'm sure they did right because they're filming. You're doing the exact same thing that they're doing as a police officer when you don't know the situation in that era. You just said you didn't know. So you can't say that they did wrong, but you were just defending them. How can you do one but not do the other? See how that doesn't make sense?
Good point.
Yeah, I understand that, but I have a passion for defending police officers because it's like, when you retire, I did 18 years on the road, and when you retire, you still have kind of a motherly protection instinct on the deputies and the state troopers and the officers that are on the road. And you kind of, like I said, I had to go on a call the other day. Deputy sheriff was getting assaulted, and I had to fucking respond. But it's about loyalty. It's about honor.
Yeah.
It's about saving your fucking colleagues' lives. So if everybody thinks that is wrong, then I don't really give a fucking rat's ass.
No one thinks it's wrong, but you can't just blindly support them. You have to look at every case in its own light. Like just like when you were in the chief, when you got rid of that cop that did the wrong thing, you didn't just automatically assume he did the right thing. You investigated it, you looked, you found corruption, and you got rid of him, right? That should never change. It should be the same thing with your thoughts on the police force, on different police forces, because not every police force is different. The same.
Absolutely. Because you know what? I'm not going to fucking put up with an officer who's corrupt. And I will never put up with an officer who is corrupt. I fucking got into this goddamn business to fucking uphold the law. and I got into this business to help people who needed help. And I'll be goddamned if anybody's going to say that I'm a fucking corrupt officer because they don't like the police department in the time, because they're like, lately it's really popular to be anti-police. But I'll tell you what, I've always done the goddamn job the way I was supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, that's good. And that makes you a good officer. And then, you know, but like we always say, there aren't always good officers out there. And boy, we have really gotten away from the premise of the show, didn't we?
Yeah, way to go, Kenny. Way to go, Kenny.
Yeah, what happened to Scientology?
Yeah, it kind
I
of
thought we were
like
talking
flew
about
off the
Scientology.
wayside. We were, but that's okay. So, all right. So I just want to make sure that Greg and Chief understand each other now, because there was some people weren't really understanding each other. Chief was just in defense mode. Greg was in defense mode, so there was no dialogue really going through. Greg, are you more comfortable with what Chief was saying now? And Chief, are you more comfortable with what Greg was saying now that you have a better understanding of what was being said and what's going on? Greg?
I do.
Yeah. Fair enough. Chief?
I'm okay. You know, I just wanted to make my point because a lot of times people don't understand the view of the law enforcement officer. There's a million complications in a law enforcement mind that, you know, if you're, you know, faced with a certain situation, you got to deal with that situation. And it's not like always in the textbook that, you know, that's going to be so easy.
Oh, yeah, of course. But, I mean, you guys, you know, like we have to focus on the positive here about what, you know, in everything. I'm sorry, but let's, you know, let's talk about happy things.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Like fairies and angels and little goblins and...
Goblins are not happy.
Well, I wasn't trying to make a whole big stink, but, you know.
Yeah,
you know.
You're old, you're crusty, you're allowed to.
All right.
Yeah.
You need to be a diplomat in the UN, I swear. No, hell no.
Oh,
no, thank you. No,
yeah,
thank
right.
you.
President 2020.
Yeah.
No, thank you at all. But yeah, so well, I'm glad we could at least get that taken care of, because yeah, I mean, there's just, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions going on there.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything anybody in the chat would like us to discuss before we head out here? Or anyone on the panel have anything else they want to discuss? Kimber, you got anything?
Kimber.
No.
Well, I do.
Oh, what's up, Carl?
Chief, you really need to relax. I mean, what's it gonna happen if you don't? Well, you're an integral part of our group. We cannot afford to lose you. And
That's right. Ooh.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're not going to lose me. I'm very passionate about defending law enforcement officers. That's my thing. You know,
I don't blame you.
Yeah, my channel is very pro law enforcement, and I'm sorry. I know my opinions might go against, you know, some of the people in this room, but you know what? I'm very passionate about law enforcement officers. I've been a law enforcement officer, and it's hard. It's a hard job, and I really get mad when people evaluate other officers' jobs when they've never worn the badge or they've never served an hour on patrol. So it's like, you know, I'm sorry if I got out of line. So everybody, so have a good evening, and I love you all.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, Chief. Thanks,
Bye,
man.
Chief.
Bye, Chief.
Bye.
All right. So anyone else got any? Go ahead, Stuck.
Yeah, no, the Scientology discussion was awesome. And even this discussion with the cops, still good. Put stuff on the table for people to ponder and think and do what we need to do. So thank you, as always.
All right, Greg.
It was
Yeah,
fun.
Greg.
Sorry for kind of getting out of hand. I didn't mean to.
That's okay.
Give me
Uh,
one good reason
Yeah.
not,
I'm
not to
sorry.
play.
I'm sorry. I got out of line too. Hey, Kenny. I've got a lot of great subjects for next Saturday, so we're good, buddy.
Oh no. Should I be
All right,
worried?
we
Should
can
I
talk
be
about
worried?
sparrows. We
All
can talk
right,
about
Kimber,
sparrows and squirrels.
Kimber, you got any last minute things to say?
No.
Just for the shit.
Carl, what about you, sir?
Give me one good reason why I should bite Greg.
Wait, what?
Good one.
Carl, no breaking things,
Carl.
no biting.
Oh man!
Sunflower seeds.
Now in my defense, I did buy 2 new Ming faces for Chuck. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they both broke while I was trying to put them on the shelf. So I said, well, now you've got Rob, Rob, Rubble from the Ming Dynasty.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh,
Carl.
Carl, you're too much.
Carl.
Did you get any sunflower seeds though?
No, I just got a headache.
I do
He's
like
got a
sunflower
headache.
seeds. I do like
I'm not
sunflower.
really big fan. I'm not a
Ranch are
big
my
fan of
favorite.
those.
No, those are freaking awesome. Love sunflower
I'm
seeds.
anti some
Less anti-American, Greg. That's anti-American, and we don't like that here on this channel. So you gotta go. No, I'm playing.
Hey, if you don't like sunflower, more for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, more for you guys. More for you guys. I'm doing it because I care.
So therefore, Greg, you've redeemed yourself.
Well, I think it was just there was a misunderstanding between Chief and Greg, but I think we got it understood. That's all. Like,
We did.
misunderstanding.
I'm just concerned about Carl's biting fetish.
I do not have a biting finish.
All right.
All right, guys. Well, Murpha, thanks for
Hey.
joining me, my man.
Chief,
Oh, go
tell the
ahead.
country cop, hey, all units stand by.
Yeah, we'll see you later, guys.
Murpha,
Bye.
thanks for
Bye,
joining me
Chief.
today.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Hornet. Liberty Bird, thanks for stopping by. Accountability for all. He probably already left already, but yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Taze, thank you, sir. Adam, thank you. Cheryl, thank you. Randy, thank you. Who else? Cheryl, Beverly, and whoever else is in here, I missed. Thank you for stopping by. It's been a lot of fun.
As always.
Thank you.
Source Walkers, what's up? Thanks for stopping by. Didn't even realize you were still here. You were so freaking quiet. All right, later, Pat. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you again with another video tomorrow. All right, y'all.
All right.
Carl, behave.
Now you know me better than that.
Bye.
Of course I won't.
Yeah, I know that. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Shane.
Bye.
Thanks, Murpha. All right, y'all. Peace out.